Welcome to Empire Building. I'm Wendy Papazan, and together with my 4 co-hosts, we bring you weekly unfiltered conversations about leadership, growing a big empire, and living on your own terms.
I'm Kimber Leviman-Keaty. We are investors and wealth builders with over $75 million in combined net worth.
I'm Sarah Reynolds. We are visionaries who built more than 50 businesses with over $122 million in annual revenue.
I'm Tiffany Fikes. We've led thousands of people and do it all while being pretty good moms.
And I'm Seychelle Van Poole. We are your podcast to learn how to build big businesses and even bigger lives.
Hey everyone, welcome. Wendy Papazan here today, and I have a very special guest interview. Some of you know her and love her because to know her is to love her. I've got Miss Ryan Major here with me in the studio. Welcome, Ryan.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. So let's just kick it off, and I'd love for you to share a little bit of your story. I know you're a Texas girl. You grew up in Fredericksburg, is that right?
Yep, I grew up in Fredericksburg, graduated from Fredericksburg High School, and then went to Texas State in San Marcos. So I love Central Texas. I miss Central Texas. But yeah, I grew up on a horse farm. My dad's a horse trainer, and it was fun.
Yeah, that was horses were your first love, I'm assuming.
Yes, I started showing horses when I was 3 years old, competed in my first horse show at 3, and cried the whole time because my mom made me wear a bow tie. So
she made you wear a bow tie?
Yeah, it was the 80s, like maybe that was the style.
And some shoulder pads or something?
For sure, there were probably shoulder pads involved on a 3-year-old. But yeah, I showed horses all the way through, ended up in the National Youth Cutting Horse Association Hall of Fame. I was their president for a couple years. And yeah, it was a really cool way to grow up.
And now, fast forward, I guess quite a few years, you are in real estate. You're a realtor. I was scoping out your LinkedIn this morning. Which you probably need to update, by the way. It looks like it's been a hot minute since you've been there.
I couldn't tell you the last time I've been on LinkedIn. So yeah, I probably should update that.
I was like, wow, that's a really old picture of her.
Was it like the big East Texas hair picture? Because that one's
I think
great.
so. Yeah, I think so. It looked pretty old. But I was not surprised, but I saw that you've been in real estate for 10 years now. So that's quite an accomplishment in an industry where 80% of people drop out.
Yeah, I've always been very stubborn. So when I got my real estate license, there wasn't really like a, what if this doesn't work? It was like, oh, this is going to work. Why wouldn't it? And I think that's helped me through the harder times. A lot of like the growing up showing horses is, it makes you be gritty. And so like literally and figuratively.
How so though? Because when I think of riding horses, I think of like you're playing polo and you're pretty wealthy and you have those boots on and all of that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's a little different when you're the help, right? Like growing up being the horse trainer's kid, I was cleaning stalls every day. I was saddling, unsaddling, grooming, all the things, getting everything ready for the clients. As a family, we were selling McCarty cutting horses. And so on top of that, when you're getting ready for a show, you're constantly being coached and you're paying people to judge you. And so literally every little movement of your body is being coached and talked through. And sometimes you might get yelled at by your dad if you cut the wrong cow or something like that, because this is cow horses and like on Yellowstone. And so it's a little bit rougher than polo.
And so you grew up in Central Texas, and tell us how you made your way from Central Texas to where you are now.
Yeah. So I went to school at Texas State in San Marcos and graduated with a degree in political communication.
That's so funny. I was a political science journalism major.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's why we get along. I met this dude who was an intelligence analyst in the Army, and he ended up coming to school at Texas State too, and we got married. And then he took a job with the Department of Justice, and they moved us to just outside of Washington, D.C. for 4 years. And we came home for Christmas, and I was like, I don't want to go back to Virginia. I'd like to stay in Texas. And he was like, well, we live in Virginia, so get in the car. But that started his transition of trying to get a job here. And it was like closed door after closed door after closed door. He applied for 17 different positions or something like that, and they kept telling him no. And then out of the blue, they called and they said, "What about Tyler?" And he's like, "Yes, where is that?" And so he called me after he accepted the position and was like, "What do you think about Tyler?" I said, "Yes." And I'm like, "I've never been there, but sure, it's East Texas. I don't know." And so we were off on another adventure. They moved us here. And that was, 11 years ago. About 6 months after we moved here, I started taking my real estate classes and was licensed within 6 weeks. And that's how we got to Lindale, Texas.
I love it. And most of the work you've done has been in sales, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of a born salesperson.
My first job was obviously for my parents, but then also I washed wine glasses for my Nana. She was Fredericksburg is wine country, and the first wine tasting room on Main Street my Nana managed. And at like 10 or 11, I was washing sample glasses and teaching people about wine, and I could tell you exactly what wine you wanted by 12. So more foreshadowing in my life on that. But after that, I worked in sales at the wild seed farm, and then I sold knives door to door. I sold gastric bypasses for a while in San Antonio, and worked on commission at Neiman Marcus, and then Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and then real estate.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I thought when I looked at your very outdated LinkedIn. You look like you've been in sales your whole life. So what was the determining factor? Like, why did you'd obviously, it sounds like when you were in Virginia, maybe you were kind of tending to your new family, and then when you moved back to Texas, you're ready to do something different.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what happened. So when I had Madison, who's now 13, we would have been spending the same amount on childcare as I was making. So we made the decision for me to step back from Enterprise. I didn't go back after maternity leave. While we were there, I started like a concierge personal training and health coaching business. And so I would like go to people's houses and work them out, which you know all about because that's what y'all do.
Yeah.
But when we got to Lindale, there wasn't really a market for that. And there also wasn't a gym with childcare, and Maddie was 3. So I needed to do something to supplement income. We moved up in house when we moved here. And when we got our first property tax bill, we were like, oh, cool.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't know about this. Yeah.
And I wanted a little bit of additional just to help with kids stuff, right? So the girls could take dance lessons and do whatever. And so I was like, if I can make like $50K a year, that would be amazing.
Well, plus you have a tremendous amount of personal energy. So I just can never imagine that was, just staying at home was enough for you.
It was not. I mean, when I did stay at home in Virginia, I got my personal training certification, started doing that, competed in 2-figure shows. Like I can't be still. And I always need a goal to work towards. So it was a lot for me to be home. It probably wasn't very good for me.
Well, it was probably good for your husband, because I did the same thing. I stayed home for about 5 years, and I'm like you. I need to do stuff, and it's a real gift to your partner to be able to do that because they get to come home. And I think we're taught, especially as women, like, oh, it's such a gift to us, and it's actually a gift to our partner because they get to flourish in their career, and they get to come home and everything's all buttoned up and they don't have to think about it, and they can really focus on the other thing. I know our friend Sarah, her husband has done that for her, and it's quite a remarkable gift to give your spouse. I think we're taught that it's a gift to us, but it's really a gift to them,
Yeah. And I think too, like as everybody's careers grow and change, like at some point that shifts. And that's always a fun conversation that I have with new agents when they're getting started. No matter if they're female or male, it's like, hey, when this takes off, you're going to have some of those hard conversations with your spouse around like, I know that for the last 10 years, I've done this every day, and I don't have the capacity for that anymore. So how can we make this work?
Yeah, Jay and I had multiple conversations about that, and it's really tough to work through at the beginning. And luckily he was like, well, let's get more help, instead of like, I don't want that either. So he did take on some of the things, but we ended up just getting additional people to help us in our lives, So.
Yeah, that's what we did too. Justin takes the brunt of like food prep, but we found leverage in other places.
Yeah, I love that. So you started at a brokerage, a smallish brokerage, I would guess, in your new town of Tyler, Texas. And you did that for about 5 years, I guess, right?
Yep, that's right. So I got licensed. We actually live in Lindale, which is, I looked it up. It's a population of 6,900 people as of 2023. But when we moved here, it was more like 3,900 people. So our town has almost
probably
doubled.
Helped those 3,000 people move to Lindale.
Probably so, because if someone calls and they're like, I like the Tyler area, I'm like, have you looked at Lindale? Because it's great here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I joined a brokerage that was pretty new. She had just started her brokerage in December, and I joined her in May. I didn't know anything because I didn't know what I didn't know. And so that wasn't scary to me. I was just like, oh, cool, great, let's do it. And yeah, so I was there for 5 years. And at the end of my 5th year there, I was exhausted. There wasn't really a culture of how do you leverage yourself or leverage your business. It was you do everything. And so that's what I was doing. I didn't have an assistant or a transaction coordinator or anything. I was just running. I was putting out every sign. Like literally, I was doing everything.
And your business was probably pretty big by then.
Yeah.
Because you're a gifted salesperson. So you were doing a lot of deals.
It had grown really fast, faster than I think any of us were prepared for. And so at the end of that year, I had done 52 sides. And I was like, my body was shutting down. Yeah.
Yeah, it's burnout alone. Yeah, well, so how did that affect your health? Because I know it affected your health a lot, right? Because you'd gone from being a trainer, right? And what I heard you say in Virginia, you'd done some bodybuilding competitions. Is that what you did? Or yeah. Because I've seen some pictures of you from back in the day. Yeah,
my little muscle-bound Barbie photos. It could happen again. I never say never. I've been kicking around the idea. But yeah, at the end of 2019,
you heard it here first.
I had gained a bunch of weight. I had ended up with 2 iron infusions. I was struggling with alcoholism. Like it was rough. And I was ready. I was ready for change. And so in February of 2020 is when I made the move to Keller Williams, which again transformed so much of my life and brought me to you and all of our friends. So that's really cool.
Well, and how did that happen? I think you told me, but I forget how it exactly happened.
It was kind of silly. So my friend Emily Santina, she has the Santina group here in Lindale. We had started our businesses about the same time, and we had always kind of been neck and neck. And our girls were on the same basketball team. And I was sitting next to her, and she was just like texting and setting up stuff. And I was like setting up stuff, but I had to leave the game early. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I'm sending this to my buyer's agent. And I'm like, you're what? Like, what is that? And and we were just talking about our businesses and money and all the things. And she said, let's go to coffee.
So that was a true lightning rod moment for you.
It was. And I love Emily so much. I credit her with so much of the freedom that I have in my life now. Like just having that for her, that was a huge thing because she's not like, she'll tell you I'm not a recruiter. She does not like to do that. And for whatever reason, she just that day had the courage to say, let's go to coffee. So,
well, she could probably see that you were struggling.
Oh, it was so obvious.
Yeah. And when you have a worthy rival, they push you. You don't want to lose your worthy rival. You know?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So it was crazy. We went to coffee on Monday, and by the next Saturday, I had moved my license.
Wow. Yeah, you are known for your speedy decisions.
Yeah, I don't. If I sit with it too long, I'll question it. So I just do it.
Okay. Well, so you made the move. I love that. Mm-hmm. And nothing against your other brokerage. They just were offering you different things, right?
Yep.
And which is often the case. And so you joined KW, and then in February of 2020. And then what happened?
Yeah. So actually, I'll back up just a little bit. I had hired Megan as my assistant in December of 2019. We're not really sure when because there was no QuickBooks. I think I just wrote her a check. So there's no way for us to know when her start date was.
Here's some cash in a baggie. Figure out how to pay yourself.
Here's some quarters. I don't know.
And was she your best friend before you started?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, yeah.
No, they had just moved here too. And they joined our life group at church. And I was like interviewing all of these people to be my assistant. And I'm like, man, I kept coming to life group being like, can y'all please pray for me? All these crackheads keep applying for this job. And like, I don't know what to do. And so it had been like 3 weeks and she texted me. She's like, I can do this. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, I don't know anything about real estate and I need to bring my kid with me. And I'm like, cool. Will you work for $10 an hour? She's like, sure. So
Wow. A match made in heaven.
that's how it happened. But that was in December. And so like, she wasn't the Megan that all of y'all know then in my world because we had just met. And so I didn't consult her. I just like moved. And she found out because on Sunday at church, she was on stage playing the piano and I was in the front row, like sobbing and freaking out because I was so scared. And so she's like, my new boss is freaking out. I don't know what's going on. And so after the service, she came up to me. She's like, what's happening? And I'm like, we just moved to Keller Williams. It might have ended our business. I don't know.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
obviously she survived that.
Yeah.
Yeah, somehow.
Well, she was like, cool. Is their technology better? I'm like, yes. And she's like, that's all I care about. I'm like, great. Well, you're in charge of learning that. So it was actually really handy that the pandemic hit just a couple weeks later because then we were both forced to dive in and learn all of the things about the new brokerage and how do we plug in. And we both were reading Shift and the MREA at the same time. And then that worked out because then in June, we registered our team. We were like, we should do a team. Didn't really know. We didn't, I mean.
You were like, let's do it. Yeah.
We hadn't finished reading the MREA yet. So we just started a team just for the hell of it.
Okay. Because I guess in your office, you basically have to tell someone like, "Hey, we're a team now," or something like that. Is that okay? Got it.
Yeah, and you have to supply like a team agreement and stuff. So I got a copy of Emily's and changed Santina Group to the major team, and that's what we rolled with. Yep.
Yeah.
It was like I don't know. Don't do what I did. Take more time. But yeah, that's how the team started. But before that, like I had already had a lot of the branding and the presence in town, but everything turned pink in 2020.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. So, you guys can't see Ryan. And if you don't know her, you don't know that her signature color is hot pink, right? I don't know if you have like a specific color, but it's very hot pink. I'm looking at her right now. She's a pink puffy vest on, and she's basically sitting in front of a very pink wall. And if you didn't have that sign behind you, it'd be hard to see you because it's very pink. And so you decided to turn pink. So tell me about that decision.
So, I mean, Wendy, you've known me for a long time, and you know that I'm a little bit of a smart aleck, and I'm very stubborn, and I'm kind of in your face. And so I had pink streaks in my hair at one point at my last brokerage, and my broker wasn't pleased with that. So I had a logo already before I moved to KW. And when I was making the move, the team leader at our market center was like, well, you need to do something to differentiate yourself. My logo at the time was the previous brokerage's colors. And I said, turn it hot pink.
Wow. And it was like a middle finger.
A little bit. And it's funny because my previous broker and I, like, we're good now. It wasn't good when I left. I did it the wrong way. I did not know.
Well, because you were probably her top producer. So
yeah.
It's a lesson out there. How you leave is everything. Everyone.
Yep.
Everyone listening. How you leave is everything.
I did it wrong. And I actually, in the last couple of years, I called her and I said, I'm so sorry. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I'm sorry if I hurt you. So we're good now. And that makes me happy.
Yeah. I've had people on my team do that for me too. And it's
Yep.
It's nice when that happens.
Yeah. So yeah, we painted it hot pink, and I didn't even know what that comment was going to do to my life. Like literally, and thanks to Megan, right? Like she's a branding genius. And so she was in charge of all of our social media content and all of our signs and everything. And so everything just became hot pink. And we do have a color code, but I don't know it. Megan, if she was on here, she could tell you. But yeah, so everything is pink, the signs, everything. Me.
It's just called Sherwin Williams, Ryan Major.
Yeah.
That's the color. Yeah.
Our painter was funny. So he did this wall in our house, and I have a bathroom with cabinets the same color. And he was painting another bathroom for a child that color. And he sent me a picture of it, and he was like, these aren't your clients, but I'm painting their bathroom that color. And I said, well, did you tell them that when they're ready to sell, they have to call me? And he's like, of course.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, so you made the move to KW. You're doing a total rebrand, sounds like.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Megan is there still with you. And then what? You're still in the middle of the pandemic trying to do real estate stuff.
Yeah. So the day that we were allowed to host open houses again, one of my subdivisions, I am very fortunate to get to work with a lot of our builders here in Lindale, and that's a huge part of my business. And we were holding 10 houses open in one neighborhood, and I just needed bodies. So I was like, hey, can someone hold these houses open? We had a bunch of KW agents volunteer. 2 of them came up to me after, and they were like, do you need buyer's agents? And we're like, yes. You're hired. That was the extent of our career visioning, was you have a pulse and you're here. And also they were 2 dudes in their mid-50s, and I had just rebranded everything hot pink. And so I'm like, here's your hot pink shirt. Good luck.
Yeah.
But I love those guys. They're not on our team anymore. Neither one of them are in real estate anymore, but they have remained good friends of ours, and I'm grateful for them at the time. And so we spent the time just learning, and I spent the time listening to a lot of podcasts, which led me to you eventually. And that truly, I credit a lot of that with where I'm at now. So
I love that. Well, this is like a full circle moment for you because, yeah, you were listening to the podcast, and then from what I understand, you heard about Her Best Life event, which was called Amplify then. You decided to buy a ticket. You basically pulled over on the side of the road or something very Ryan-esque. And
I didn't pull over.
Bought the ticket. Yeah.
I did it while I was driving.
Okay, there you go. Even better. Even better. And that's led you to doing a deep dive in many ways. So It's, I've been fortunate enough to be on your journey. I guess we met in fall of 2021. Yeah, in real life. And yeah, here you are 3.5 years later. And what are some of your thoughts on what you've learned?
Well, it's interesting because I was so lonely trying to figure out what to do growing my business. And it's wild because I'm in this little bitty town and there's a couple other teams, but it's not like what you see in the big world of real estate, right? Like nobody in our area is selling, 1,000 houses a year. It just doesn't happen. And so I kept listening to the podcast and I'm like, I just need to make friends with these people. Like if I want to grow and learn, I just need to figure out how to meet them. And then, the event in San Antonio, I literally walked up to y'all and I'm like, hi, I'm Ryan. I'm here to be your friend. Please help me.
Well, it's so true. I mean, I think for, and even though I'm here in Austin, Texas, I know I was feeling that way too. I think as a woman who's growing a business, and, you and I have a similar history. So we spent time as a stay-at-home mom, and that's a whole vibe. And when I'm sure even as a stay-at-home mom with all your side hustles, you were still kind of a weirdo, like I was.
Yeah.
And wanting more and a little bit bored of some of the conversations that go on the playground, and yet kind of tolerating them because that's kind of what you get when you're a stay-at-home mom. And it's just can be a very lonely experience to want more as a woman, to want and build more out of your life. And it can be very lonely.
Yeah.
And especially in a small town, in a very small town where I'm sure in most instances you are the, smartest person in every room, the most ambitious person in every room. And I'm sure you're like me, gravitating towards the men talking at the parties because the conversation's much more at your level. And that's a lonely place to be where you just do not feel like you fit in anywhere.
Yeah, it's rough. And so when I got into the room at the event in San Antonio, y'all were announcing Empire Circle. And when the pricing came up, I was like, but that's like a down payment on a rental house. And so I immediately, all the reasons why I couldn't or shouldn't kept flowing into my brain. But then y'all said you got a free scarf and I love some swag.
I think it was a Turkish towel.
It was the Turkish towel. And I love it. I still have it. And so I'm like, well, I guess I'm gonna get a free Turkish towel.
I don't remember that part.
But I didn't tell anybody that I was applying because I just knew y'all were gonna say no. Because who was I from Lindale with my little 2-person team? And I think at that point I was doing like 78 units or something, and because I didn't know y'all's hearts yet. Which, that. So anyway, I didn't tell anybody. And then I remember one of the other girls that was at my table had applied, and she got a call from you telling her that she had gotten in. And so I kept waiting for a 512 number to call me like all day. And I didn't know that I had missed a call from a Dallas number, and it was Carissa. And so like I had this voicemail sitting in my voicemail all day, and I didn't know it was there. And I was like, I didn't get it. So yeah. But on top of that, like getting to learn and go to all of the different events and things with you guys has changed my mindset around so much of it. In fact, I had a cool full circle moment on Tuesday of this week. I posted about it on Facebook. I don't know if you saw it, but I went to, I recently had a mommy makeover, and I went to the Faja lady in Dallas, and I didn't know what to expect when I walked in there.
What is that? What's the Faja lady? I don't know what that means.
A faja is a Colombian compression garment that you wear after you've had plastic surgery.
Okay.
Or if you just need like really solid compression for an event, right? So like if it's your wedding or you're on stage at family reunion or whatever, and you need everything in its place, you wear a faja.
Oh, never heard of it. Thankfully, I guess.
I was on my way Tuesday to a custom faja fitting. I had no idea what to expect. Well, I walk in, and this girl is like, she's like me, how passionate I am about real estate, she is about underwear. And so I go in, and she's fitting me for all this stuff. And I said, well, have you had a chance to go and introduce yourself to all the plastic surgeons in Dallas? Like, they should be sending us to you. And I got to do some like consulting with her while she's fitting me for underwear. And it was really cool. She texted me afterwards, and she's like, I can't even believe that you think that I can do this. And I was like, you can, and I'm going to help you.
Oh.
And so it was cool because
I just got chills. Yeah.
Y'all always say we lift as we climb. And I think it does. We can go outside of our industry to do that. And I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah. I love that. Well, I expect her to see her at an event sometime soon.
I told her she needed to be selling them at family reunion. I'm like, why don't we have a booth? Everyone will buy one. It's amazing.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it sounds incredible. Well, and tell me, I know in the time that I've known you, you did a kind of like Ryan-esque sort of thing. You really decided you were going to go all out and built a really big team, and then that maybe didn't work out like you wanted it to. And so tell us some lessons that you learned from that.
Yeah, well, Wendy had the pleasure of talking to me on the phone while I was crying on the floor in my house. But yes, I built a really big team. Megan and I, built a really big team. And it blew up in really big fashion. And I never questioned it. Like when I was building it, I was like, yeah, this is what you do. So how fast can we do it? Like, why not? Let's just go. And it's great because I have a front row seat to all of you lovely empire building ladies. And so I'm like, well, this is what Sarah does, and this is what Kimber does, and this is what Seychelle does. And so I'm just going to do it all at once without thinking about it. And that's not the way to do it. So it did blow up in very gross fashion. Thankfully, I had always been like
It could be the way. You might not have to do it over again, but
yeah, I will do it so much better this time. So much smarter and slower. And
well, you get to fail your way to success.
Yeah.
And I think one of your attributes and one of the things that Gary Keller says all the time is, if you want to have more success, you need to fail forward faster. And so you've done a lot of failing forward in the last 5 years, and you are a different person as a result of it.
I'm totally different. I mean, I think about things differently. I hire differently. We release differently. There's a lot of ways that we do business that's different, and that's even different like from the traditional model now. But we did the whole buyer agent, director of sales, ISAs, all the things. And it just, when we were looking at the profitability and the energy cost for Megan and I to have to run such a large team and still have me facilitating most of the transactions, it was like, it's not working. And so we had to make a really tough decision to change all of it. And so at Mega Camp in 2023, we were like, nope, stop. The whole theme of Mega Camp that year was like, follow your joy. And Megan and I were sitting in the hotel and we're like, we're not having joy. Like, this isn't fun.
Joy. Yeah.
And like one of our core values on the major team is if it's not fun, we're not doing it. And so I'm like, well, this is stupid. So we changed and we went back to me and Megan and our awesome admin team and one ISA and one showing assistant. And we ran with one showing assistant until, it was like July or August when we hired again. I remember telling you, like, we've interviewed all these people and none of them are going to work.
Well, and to be fair, you work in a market where that's a huge consideration because you just don't have the talent pool like you would in a bigger city. Like you just don't. No matter how hard you tried, no matter how many people you talk to, if you're in a city of 6,900 people, the talent pool is just going to be limited.
Yeah.
That's just it. So you're going to have to spend more time, money, and energy doing that than somebody who's in an area like Austin. Like I don't have trouble with it here. It's not even an issue for me.
And then there's, outside of just that, there's the conversation that happens amongst the realtors here of, gosh, she can't keep anybody on her team. What's wrong with her? It's what's wrong with me, not why are the people not fitting in what she's trying to do. There's never a thought process around that. And I've been guilty of looking at people in the past before I was a leader and going, oh, she must be terrible to work for.
Well, it's kind of funny because I think everybody knows that there's a 90% fallout rate in real estate. And so for some reason, even when you have people on your team, if you are even matching that standard, and most of the time on teams, you do a lot better than that.
Yeah.
You're still judged. You're still judged for it when really part of it is just, it's the industry itself. It's tough.
It's very hard. So now, currently, we have gone away from having buyer's agents and listing agents. I'm the listing agent. We have showing assistants, and the showing assistants have the opportunity to grow into a buyer's agent, to grow into a listing agent. They can bring in business. So like if they sit at an open house and they get a listing and a buyer out of it, great. They can run those. But for the most part, it's them going out and showing the property for our buyers and me running the deal. Like they come back in, strategy session, and I run the deal from there.
I love that. So aside from slowing down a little bit, what are some of the lessons that you learned?
I have learned to take our time hiring. We have learned that Ryan does not get to meet the candidate until basically the decision has been made. Because
so why is that?
Well, I'm a high I, and
really,
yeah, no way, right? I'm like, oh, you're awesome. Like, I can connect with you. And yeah, you don't fit our culture at all. And you seem like you'd be terrible at sales, but I can fix that. Like, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
So Megan does the first few interviews, and then we actually have my coach doing the last interview. And if my MAPS coach says no, then the answer is no.
Love that.
And if we're hiring for the admin side, then Megan's coach interviews them the last time.
I love that. Yeah, because you don't know what you don't know. It's so good to have outside perspective, and it's really easy to fall in love with people when you're a people person.
And so aside from hiring correctly, I've learned to release them from the team faster and not wait. I've learned that while we want to help them grow and we want to help them as humans and all of those great, wonderful things that as leaders we want to do, at the end of the day, this is a business and we're hiring them to fulfill a need for our business, not for our business to fulfill a need for them. And so that's been a huge lesson for me, because before I was like, let me change everything to suit you, person who has done nothing to prove themselves to us.
Well, especially in sales, you can be a people pleaser. Like, that's part of the reason you're in sales, is that you appreciate servicing customers and things like that. And so it's natural to think about doing that with other people in your world. If you're like kind of that person that wants to help people, when you become a leader, you have to kind of unlearn that in a way,
Yeah, that was a hard one for me. That was really hard. And then I've learned to give myself the space to take care of myself and my family. Going through, gaining weight again, my body shutting down, getting sober in 2019. So I've been 5 years sober as of October.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I have learned that it's okay to take the time. In November, I had a big surgery. And so for the whole month of December, I really did not take any meetings. I still took listings and we still had business. And I think we wrote like 16 contracts or something in November and December between the surgery and January. So it's not like everything stopped. The team kicked butt, and Megan and everybody just really took care of me so that I could rest. And now it's January, 3rd that we're recording this, and I'm standing talking to you and feel great. And
yeah.
So giving myself the space to do that was huge for me. I never would have done that before.
Yeah, I love that. Well, it's been such an honor to be part of your journey and to watch you really these past few years really take action in a massive way. That is one of your superpowers, is to take action. And I know your goal moving forward is to think a little bit before you take action, which is really what you're talking about, but it's such a superpower of yours. And as I'm looking at you today, you look radiant. Your skin is beautiful. You look so healthy and wonderful. And I just love that you've come out the other side from these really 5 tough years, just truly better in every single way. And so thank you so much for joining us today. Shout out to Megan. She's clearly a saint.
Yes, 100%.
And I just know for you, 2025 is going to be remarkable. So thank you for coming and sharing your story today, Ryan.
Well, thank you for letting me. I love you, and I love all of our Her Best Life family.
Love you too.
This podcast is for general informational purposes only. The views, thoughts, and opinions of the guest represent those of the guest and not KWRI and its affiliates, and should not be construed as financial, economic, legal, tax, or other advice. This podcast is provided without any warranty or guarantee of its accuracy, completeness, timeliness, or results from using the information.